Okay, so hopefully would have speeded that process up for you, but now you can see I've buried my my lump hammer in half, so we can then form the next part of the plaster mould. And I've been quite conscious of how this surface is. I want to make it as smooth as I can, but there is an opportunity to clean that up in the plaster once we've done the first part of the mould. So once we've buried our object half in the clay, we then need to cottle it together. Now, cottling is just a descriptive word of putting boards around your work. So we're going to make a small got clay in my eye. A small box around the work to contain the plaster. And now it seems easy to do this, but the most important part of this, and hopefully Ray will be able to pick this up on the camera, is the way that we fill these boards in. Now these boards, you'll notice each one of them can move away from the other, and that's vital to getting this process right. Now I've made it easier for myself by picking a board that was the right sort of size for the object that I'm casting. It's also a good idea, if you can't find a board that's the right size, cut a board to the right size. Ask myself or Ray to do it, and we will do that, because it makes the whole process that much easier. Because it gives you something for your boards, your cottling boards, to press up against. So once you've found your boards, and again, it takes a while to sort through the boards to find the right ones you've got. Just going to tie some rope, and you don't have to do this tightly. I'm just going to do a granny knot, over, under, over, under, under, over. Right. And this takes practice, guys, so it will take you a while to get this to work right. So once we've roughly got our, and it's important that these boards can, you've got to have this overlap, because otherwise this system doesn't work. And then we're going to chock these boards out by simply getting more little bits of wood. We're just going to place them around into the rope knot, and that's why you don't have to do it up tight, because the tension is being taken up by these boards. One more. Now I should, in theory, let's see, be able to pick it up. So the string has got that much tension in it, it's holding that together. So I know now that that is pretty secure. So when I pour my plaster in there, it's not going to push those boards out, because there's quite a lot of weight. And then just on the safe side, what I like to do is, some people like to put clay up the sides and all the way around the edge of the walls, but it's much easier to block these little gaps up around the edges from the inside to the out. Because if you're doing it on the inside, I've just got a small amount of clay there that's really being annoying, because the plaster is then pushing against this potential leak spot, so therefore it won't be able to push its way out. And there's quite a big gap down here, but you should be able to just fill that in with a bit of clay. And like I say, you'll be doing this with some guidance, so don't think, oh my word, this looks complicated, because it is quite complicated until you've done it a few times. Myself and Ray will be on hand when you first start making these moulds. We won't let you pour any plaster into any of your moulds until we're happy that they're secure. Okay, so we've mixed the pasta quickly off camera. Obviously you all know how to do that by now. We've chosen to do 3 pints. Hopefully that's going to be enough to to cover the object. Now you can see here that I've gone in quite close around the edge of the mould, just to make sure there's a good seal around the edge. Now, one thing you can do at this stage, if you've got an object, this hasn't got a lot of texture on it, but if you've got an object with a lot of texture on that you want to pick up, it's often better just to flick in a bit of the wet plaster to start off with, just to pick up the detail, the finer detail, rather than pouring the thicker stuff straight away. And then we're just going to wait then, just for the plaster to go off a little bit more. Now that thinner plaster then will pick up all those fine textures and details if you've got that on your object. Now the plaster's just starting to go off. And just like before, we don't want it too runny, because if it's too runny we're likely to have breakouts. One of the good things to do is always to have some soft clay to hand, just in case your mould does leak. You can plug that leak really, really quickly. We still want to be able to pour this plaster, but we don't want it so runny that it's got more of a chance to escape. And like I said, by agitating, you're actually speeding up that setting process slightly. Now I can feel it starting to go off in the bucket. It's just starting to get a little slightly gelatinous in its sort of viscosity. That's a good sentence. I'm just going to pour that on slowly. Keeping an eye out to make sure that the mould doesn't leak anywhere. Now look at that, that's absolutely perfect. 3 pints could not have been measured any better. Now we need to remember that that's 3 pints, because we want the other side of this to be the same, have the same amount of plaster. So the other side of this mould also needs to contain 3 pints of plaster, and that way we get an even draw on the mould through the slip.